The top 3 ways to get a deal with little to no money out of pocket is going to be number 1, driving for dollars. That's when you get into your vehicle, you drive around the hood, or you drive around, old beat up neighborhoods. Well, if the money's in the hood. I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're scared of the hood, the money is in the hood. We've made a ton of money regentrifying, areas. And that's the beautiful part about it, right? We're basically a solutions provider. At the end of the day, I tell my acquisition agents, listen, when you're talking to someone on the phone, don't think that you're giving them a lowball offer. Remember, you're helping them pay for college. You're helping them to pay for that mortgage that's due. You're helping them save their credit. So you are an actual solutions provider at that point, right? Driving for dollars. You get in your car, you put a little bit of gas in your vehicle, you start driving around neighborhoods, okay? Here's what you look for when you drive for dollars. You're gonna look for mailboxes that have mail that are kind of full, right? You're gonna look for mold on the side of the homes. You're gonna look out for boarded up windows, right? These are tall tale signs. The grass is tall, right? You're gonna look for tall grass in the area. And then there's also, right? So there's also ways where you can actually skip trace those properties, but that's more of an advance, again, right? That's down the line, but we're talking just driving for dollars right now. That's a way where you can go out. I guess the not so right situations, right? So you gotta make sure you're talking to people in this business, and cold calling is a phenomenal way. The third one is gonna be texting. What are people doing nowadays? This is the best thing. Right now, everyone's right here, right? We're trying to wait for America to deliver a baby. Is it going to be Trump or Biden? We don't know. We're in the delivery room right now, right?
Hi, everybody. This is Jose Luis Morales. We're back with the Morales Group show. Today, we have a very special guest, the one and only Rana. He's based out of Houston, Texas, right? He's got his own company. He's a wholesaler, been wholesaling for a long time, one of the legends in the business. And today he's going to be sharing with us some tips and tricks about wholesaling. He's going to be going over everything from the basics as to what is wholesaling all the way to like what a seasoned big wholesaler operations look like. So welcome to the show, Ron. How are you?
Thank you. What's going on, guys? Is my audio good? Can you hear me clearly?
Yep.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. That's what happens when you buy a $30 desktop from Circuit City. I'm just kidding. You remember Circuit City at one time? We're too old for this, bro. I don't know how old you are, but I remember my time we had Circuit City, and I joke about it all the time. Rest in peace, Circuit City, Blockbuster, Radio Shack, right? So a lot of these companies went under, but anyways, man, I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you so much. Jose, I definitely am honored. Once again, I love being on podcasts because it just, I get greedy sometimes. I just want to tell as many people as possible about my story, right? So you've given me an opportunity again. So thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's definitely people like listening, man. I think it's helpful for a lot of people. Because a lot of people see somebody like me and you, and they kind of don't they see where we're at right now, but they kind of don't see like what we had to do to get here. So why don't you start off by just telling us like how long have you been in wholesaling, and kind of take us through that journey, like from your like first deal, what that looked like, to what the operations look like now.
All right, absolutely. So I've been in real estate, wholesaling for a couple of years now, a little over 3.5, 4 years, right? Very humble to say that I've been able to do what I've done in just in a small, short period of time, right? So I'm definitely blessed. Glory to God. First and foremost, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and a son, right? Before I'm ever an investor, before I'm Rana, before I'm anybody. That's my top 3 priorities. I'm the father of 2 wonderful boys. We're now expecting our 3rd one. My wife is due at the end of January, so that'll be another boy. Man, I'm just out here trying to get my own acquisition agents. That's the best way. I have figured out the secret sauce. If you want the right acquisition agents, you got to make them. Really, you got to make them. So, but long story short, I've been doing this for a couple of years now. I started Investopia online. Last year alone, my company did over 7 figures. Truly blessed, man. I just really, man, I come from, the school of hard knocks. I went to school, went to college, did that route. That didn't really work out. I left college, U of H, the University of Houston, and I was like, I want something better. I didn't know anyone else making more money than the people in the car business. So I joined the automobile industry. I was like, I haven't seen that much money in any business, right? I worked for Pizza Hut when I was really young, when I was 16 years old, right? And I'll kind of talk about my backstory a little bit, but I was raised by a single mother. My parents divorced when I was really, really young. My mother raised all 4 of us. I'm one of 4 siblings, and I'm just blessed enough to be able to retire my mother through real estate, right? Just doing this a short couple of years and just grinding out there, right? And guys like us, we are a true testament to if you hustle hard and you focus and you keep your head down and you keep going, you're going to get places. And I think that's what's, led me. And having faith, right? You got to have faith in God. You got to make sure you got your family backing you up. And then everything else is secondary in the long run. So, but yeah, man, once again, that's kind of who I am. In a nutshell, I currently own and operate multiple real estate companies under my Investopia online umbrella. I also have callvirtuals.com, which we created right after the pandemic has struck, right? End of March. I really saw a niche that a lot of people were not mastering. So I built my very own cold call center in the Philippines. So these were a lot of my employees that have been with me for over, a year and a half, 2 years. And we converted that into the call center. So I've got many, many clients who are doing well over 6 figures, a month just from our cold calling services and all that. And then we also run a very successful networking event called Coffee and Contracts. So this is the mug right here. There you go. Coffee and Contracts. I love this saying, man, Alan Baldwin, you got coffees for closers. So this is one of our official, swag or merchandise. So, but I wanted to connect people. The way I became extremely successful was I was able to reverse wholesale my way to the top, right? Does that make sense? No. So okay, great. I'm glad it doesn't make sense because it gives me an opportunity to really flex here, right? I basically reverse wholesale. Instead of me going out marketing, finding, right, when I first started this business, I had no money, Jose. I was a broke car sales guy. I was working bell to bell. We call it ding to dong. I was going up, sun up to coming home at sundown, right? I didn't see daylight. I barely saw daylight, right? And I barely saw my family. And I really wanted something better in life and to be able to provide my family something better because for some reason, there was always that child in me that always believed like there's something better. I know there's something better. I just don't know what it is right now. Right? And a lot of people are in that situation right now. They're watching economics. They're watching the presidential race. They're getting laid off, right? Companies, big multi-billion-dollar companies are laying off thousands and thousands of employees, oil and gas businesses, right? And a lot of the employees are in the position that you and I were in one day where we're like, man, no matter how hard I work, I'm replaceable, regardless, right? And that's the thing that people don't understand because a salary is a bribe given to you to forget your dreams. Let that sink in. Yeah. A salary is a bribe given to you to forget your dreams. A lot of people forget their dreams when they're working for corporate America. That's the problem, right? So yes, people talk about the American dream, the steel industry and all that stuff, right? I honestly can say the American dream is dead, man. It's dead. Why? Because the American dream was the steel industry, is the Rothschild. That was the American dream. Now is the American hustle. You got to go out and you got to hustle. You got to work hard and you got to grit. You got to grind your way to the top, man. And that's all I've done. I've clawed my way up to the top, man. And that's it, right? And I'll be humble about it. I don't really, every day I wake up, I still put one leg at a time, in my pants. I'm lucky enough to wear pants because I don't have to. And now my business is so automated. But long story short, I'm able to automate my business and run multiple successful, businesses within the real estate realm. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I can go on and on. It'll take me all night, bro. But once again, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course, man. What's really impressive is for some reason I thought that you were doing this for a lot longer. So when you said like 3.5 years all the way up to 7 figures, it means that you basically scaled up pretty fast, which is good. The other thing that I took from that our listeners could watch is a lot of times people think that in order to get into real estate, you have to have a lot of money or you have to have like these huge amount of capital. The reality is that I think you just have to have a strong work ethic. You got to be able to hustle. You know, I would attribute where I'm at in the real estate space to the same thing that you have. I basically worked my tail off and I basically have become the #1 seller's agent in all of Ventura County. Same
Awesome.
two different parts of life, completely different people, same exact formula. So a lot of people actually don't know what wholesaling is, or I'm imagining that some of our viewers are kind of like newer real estate investors or people that are kind of not as savvy as maybe somebody like you or me. I actually didn't find out about wholesaling, Ron, till a couple years back, where I ended up buying a deal from a wholesaler, and I didn't realize that you could actually make money by flipping a contract. So let's go back and let's just explain to somebody like what is wholesaling for those of the people that don't know what that is.
Sure. So in essence, what I'm doing is wholesaling is I'm selling my equitable interest in the contract and I'm flipping that contract to an investor. So say, for example, houses here in Houston, they're a lot cheaper than they are out in California, right? Say I buy a house and I put it under contract for $90,000, okay? I've done the due diligence on the property. I've seen the property. I know what the roof is going to cost. I have a vague idea of what the foundation is going to cost. Now, remember, your buyer's going to do their own due diligence. But in essence, in a nutshell, what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of paper, which I have my equitable interest in, okay? And I'm flipping this contract to my end buyer for a fee. Now, over the years, that fee has grown. We are making, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on deals. My biggest deal is going to be my $2.6 million apartment complex. I was able to wholesale 120 unit, and I made over 6 figures on that one deal, which was freaking phenomenal, man. That really, that really told me that you can make the big money just on one deal. But I know you asked me, how was my first deal? How did it happen, right? My first deal actually came off of the MLS. So I respect a lot of realtors, right? When it comes to the MLS and the MLS is regulated. That's the best part about it. There's a lot of ethics. There's a lot of integrity going on. Listen, I didn't have connections when I first started this business. I didn't know anyone in real estate, but I knew if I had to become a baker, I got to get a job in the bakery, right? If I want to do real estate, I need to go to the MLS. That's where real estate is. So what I did was I went to the MLS and I started talking, to realtors, building rapport with them, because the top 2 things that I walked into when I got started in this business was negotiating and building rapport. I got that from the car business. So you can say I inherited that. So I was able to, negotiate and build rapport with not only sellers, but realtors also. And long story short, the first deal that I did, the first property that I was looking at didn't work out. But since I built so much rapport with that realtor, guess what? He called me back and he said, "Hey, Ron, I've got a property that I don't think will be able to go on the MLS. Do you want to take a look at it?" And I'm like, yeah. That ended up being an only $5,000 deal. Okay. So, and the house was flooded. It was only a $5,000 deal. Right now we say only 5, but $5,000 is still a lot of money to some people. Hell, I'll take a $5,000 deal right now, right? I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day, because I'm a volume-based wholesaler, right? If I got a number to hit, I'm going to hit that number. But like I said, now we're flipping, where we're basically assigning our equitable interest in the property over to the end buyer. So remember this: he who controls the paper controls the property, right? I don't know if you have a nugget alert or anything like that, but he who controls the paper controls the property. Okay, remember that. Just because I don't technically own that property right now, I do have equitable interest in that property that I can sell to my end buyer. So going back to the numbers, I see a house, right? It's worth 175 grand, right? 175 to $200,000 after repair value, the ARV. Okay. Now I've done my numbers. I've done my due diligence. I bought it for 90. Can I find a buyer to buy it at 100 grand? Boom. I found a buyer to buy it at 100 grand. How much is 100 minus 90? Simple math, right? 100,000 minus $90,000 is $10,000. That is my assignment fee. Now, I didn't have to deal with contractors. I didn't have to deal with appraisals. I didn't have to deal with the nuances of realtors, with all due respect. Realtors coming in and out, right? The sexy smiling, and we sell that to people. We say, hey, you don't got to pay any realtor commissions with us, right? I bought the property. Of course, the property was done as is, but there's a lot less risk and a lot less headache when you're wholesaling real estate. So that's why I got into it. Otherwise, I did have HGTV syndrome, just like everybody else. They want to go, they want to pick up a hammer. And then my wife was like, hold on, let's check out this wholesaling thing. So we started this business out of a 1-bedroom apartment. Nothing in there, just a box with a laptop. And we started learning this business, man. And, fast forward, a few years later, right, it's a beautiful part about this is that I can respect where I come, respect my hustle, right? Because I know where I come from at the end of the day. And that's what a lot of people forget when they go up in this industry. They like, man, I was never there. Like, no, I tell people my story because that's what defines me as a person.
Well, I think the part too is that a lot of people get stuck in the fact that they think that they have to own the property. So the average consumer, at least what I see, they think that they have to own the property, meaning they have to buy it in cash. They think that they have to have the money to renovate it, and then they have to have the money to flip it. What Ron is describing is a little bit different. Essentially, what Ron is describing is you're basically tying up the property at a very good price. And before the property closes, you are flipping that contract, flipping the paper for an assignment fee.
Your equitable, remember, your equitable interest. There's a fine line. And I tell wholesalers all day about this and realtors is that realtors are abide by a certain code of ethics. You can't just go out there and say random shit, right? You got to make sure you're saying the right stuff. So just your equitable interest. I've seen many educators out there saying you're flipping the property. You're not flipping the property, people. You're selling your rights in that contract to another partner or an end buyer.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's the proper way of essentially saying it. So essentially, you can make money without ever owning the actual property. In other words, basically, which to me, I ended up buying a property not too long ago, Ron, and the guy bought or had it tied up at $350,000, sold it to me at $500,000. So the guy made $150,000. We still made $70 because we ended up fixing it, reselling it, and we ended up fixing it up and putting it on the market. But it was a win-win situation for everybody. It was a win for the seller because he got closed out on the property. It was a win-win for the wholesaler, and it was a win-win for me because I ended up still making money. So I think that's the part that a lot of people don't realize, that you can actually do something like that. And a lot of people get stuck thinking that you need a lot of capital. So in essence, would it be accurate to say, Ron, that the main thing that you need is to find a good deal, that's really the basis of wholesaling, to find a good opportunity? And if you find a good opportunity, there's an opportunity to make money?
I would say definitely, right? There's a saying in our industry, right? A deal sells itself, right? But at the end of the day, I've kind of proven that wrong too, where I've been able to build relationships with buyers, and they'll buy the deal because of me, because of Investopia Online, because they know this is not the only property they're going to buy. And they know that we're the ones spending, $30,000 a month in marketing to acquire these properties, right? When the buyer's not going to do it. So they want to build a relationship with good wholesalers like myself in our market or in any market. So that way they get first dibs on properties. And sometimes buyers will buy the deals because of us, because, you know, just because it's not cash flowing $400 and it's only cash flowing $375, they'll take it. They'll say, okay, well, it's a little bit under my guideline, Ron, but I want to be on your VIP buyers list. I want to build a relationship with you. Remember, real estate is a people business. It's not a property business, right? This is a people business. The more relationships you build, the more successful you be. And that's where I was coming at when I said reverse wholesaling, was I built my buyers list first. So I went out and I saw supply and demand, what they were looking for, and then I went out and looked for the seller. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the part that some people might get stuck, Ron, is they might get stuck thinking like, well, how is like in my case, like the wholesaler made 150,000 and I was only going to make $70,000. They might think like, how is that person going to make a lot more money than I am? When in reality, it's got to be a win-win for everybody. So I've actually done the same thing. Like I've gone on some VIP buyer lists, and people like you bring us opportunities, and it's a win-win for everybody. So let's say that you want to become a wholesaler and you want to get good at finding good opportunities. How can somebody put themselves in a position, meaning in terms of marketing, in terms of what activities can an individual do to essentially become the source of the deal, in other words?
Sure. So right now, right, you don't want to be spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm talking about 20, 30, 40, $50,000, right, a month in marketing, because one, the market has kind of shifted, right? Kind of, yeah, it's definitely shifted due to COVID-19, right? But in our case, the market has gotten so much better. We had no idea real estate was going to flourish and it was really going to blow up after COVID, because we all thought there was a certain period of time where it was like 2 weeks into COVID-19. We were like, oh, you know, I was packing back. I was like, hey, let's go, right? Like, we're closing shop. But thank the Lord, none of that happened. All of a sudden, we just started seeing boom, 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 buyers. And not only buyers, we started seeing cash buyers, like people with actual cash money in the bank, not even going through a hard money lender to get deals where we have to wait for transactions to happen, right? So going back to your question, the top 3 ways to get a deal with little to no money out of pocket is going to be, number 1, driving for dollars. That's when you get into your vehicle, you drive around the hood, or you drive around, you know, old beat up neighborhoods. Well, if you're like, the money's in the hood. I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're scared of the hood, the money is in the hood. We've made a ton of money regentrifying, you know, areas. And that's the beautiful part about it, right? We're basically a solutions provider. At the end of the day, I tell my acquisition agents, listen, when you're talking to someone on the phone, don't think that you're giving them a lowball offer. Remember, you're helping them pay for college. You're helping them to pay for that mortgage that's due. You're helping them save their credit. So you are an actual solutions provider at that point, right? Driving for dollars. You get in your car, you put a little bit of gas in your vehicle, you start driving around neighborhoods, okay? Here's what you look for when you drive for dollars. You're gonna look for mailboxes that have mail that are kind of full, right? You're gonna look for mold on the side of the homes. You're gonna look out for boarded up windows, right? These are tall tale signs. The grass is tall, right? You're gonna look for tall grass in the area. And then there's also, right? So there's also ways where you can actually skip trace those properties, but that's more of an advance, again, right? That's down the line, but we're talking just driving for dollars right now. That's a way where you can go out. The number 1 way that I have actually been able to execute and be successful while driving for dollars is talking to the neighbors, number 1, because the neighbors know your area, right? And number 2 is going to be talking to the local postman who's driving that neighborhood, right? Because no one knows that area like your local postman, right? Exactly. So whenever you see a postman driving around, you want to actually give them your business card and let them know, hey, I'm paying from $500 to $1,000 in in referral fees, right? And send me a deal. If we close on it, I'll cut you $1,000 check at closing, because I can almost promise you damn near the government ain't paying these people.
Yeah.
So you come out and you say, hey, I'll give you $1,000, right? The biggest check that I've ever cut was a $4,000 referral fee. And we made over $30,000. We made $35,000 on that deal. Let me ask you, would you spend $4,000 to make 30 grand? Yes, I would. I would. I know that, right? So he brought us a deal. He brought us a deal. The deal was juicy enough to where the investor was making money. We made our 30 grand. I paid the guy, right? And he was happy and just awestruck by how easy it was. All he did was texted our, line and said, here's the property address, boom, boom, boom. And it goes back to keeping your code of ethics, and you close that deal. You got to take care of these people, because I know we've done a little over maybe 10 or 11 deals with that one mailman, and that's one postal guy. Keep in mind, he knows other postal people. So he's going to tell people like, yo, you see any properties, you let me know, and I'm going to let Ron know. Right? He doesn't want to send them directly to us because he wants a cut too now, right? So he's making money from those people. It's kind of like an indirect affiliate, so which is pretty cool. The second way, okay, you got to get on the phone and cold call people. You have to call people, right? This business is about talking to the right people, right? In, I guess, the not so right situations, right? So you got to make sure you're talking to people in this business. And cold calling is a phenomenal way. And this is why I actually saw a problem in our industry where not a lot of people were getting success from cold calling. So I created my own cold call center with callvirtuals.com. And then we cold call for people, and they're experiencing phenomenal results. $30,000 assignment fees, $20,000 deals, $15,000 deals, right? I have a client right now who's clocking over 6 figures a month just from our cold calling services. The third one is going to be texting. What are people doing nowadays? This is the best thing. Right now, everyone's right here, right? We're trying to wait for America to deliver a baby. Is it going to be Trump or Biden? We don't know. We're in the delivery room right now, right? And that's what people are doing. And you text someone, believe me, they're going to text you back. They're going to say, hey, yeah, I want to sell my property, right? You can go to companies like roar.com. You can go to, you can go to other companies like, I believe there's callrail.com. You can go there. I'm giving you guys all the tools, so I hope your viewers are writing notes down. This is all literally information that these guru charges $5 grand at a weekend seminar for. So, but again, I'm all about giving back to the real estate community. And so, yeah, you can use those platforms. And then the fourth one that I would definitely say is RVM. Are you familiar with RVM?
No.
Okay. RVM is a ringless voicemail. Okay. You ever get a voicemail on your phone and your phone never rung? You're just like, oh, who left me a voicemail? Right? You're going to go out, check your voicemail. Hey, Jose, this is Ron here with We Buy Houses Houston. I was in the area. I want to see if you would like a cash offer on your property. Call me back. Press 1, press 2 to be removed, right? That's an RVM. That's a ringless voicemail. Boom. Seller calls you back, and then you kind of go from there. So, and there's other ways of marketing, but those are kind of the top 3, and then the fourth one would be your RVM. My favorite one is bandit signs. I'm notorious for doing tons and tons and tons of bandit signs. Pre-COVID, I was doing 10,000 bandit signs a month. So we were doing around 350 a night of bandit signs. So we were doing, right, I'm all about guerrilla marketing, right? The old school, get the shirt on, market to people, tell people what you do, bandit signs, right? You see those little, in case your viewers don't know, you see those little ugly signs that says, Susie buys houses. Those are likely ours, right? And a lot of people can argue the bandit signs don't work. Listen, man, no marketing will work unless you work, point blank. That's it. You can do any marketing in the world and it'll eventually work out. But bandit signs have been our number one way of getting leads, because sellers are calling us now along with the city. But hey, that's a part of doing the business.
Well, what I wanted to ask you is, because you went over a couple ways of attracting business. So you went over the call virtuals, you went over the RVM. Do people just do this to everybody in the county, or is there like certain selected list that would improve the probabilities of somebody being able to get a deal? For example, like somebody who's in foreclosure, or maybe somebody who's inherited a property. Like, can you tell us about like specifically? Because I would imagine that like if you just do that, there's a way to make it more efficient to increase the chances of you running into somebody that actually needs your help.
Yes, so that's called hyper-targeted marketing, right? We don't just shotgun, right? We don't just shotgun everything and see what sticks on the wall, turn on the light, let's see what stuck, right? No, that's not what we do. We hyper-target these lists. So I have, connections with companies, right? You can get subscriptions with companies that will get you these leads that are going to get you these lists, right? Pre-foreclosures is a great way right now because millions of Americans are in forbearance, right? Also, you want to do vacant list, okay? We also have the high equity out-of-state owner list. These are people who don't live in Texas, right, but have a house in Texas, okay? Also, I'd like to do the unknown equity absentee owner list, right? These are people who are who do live in the state, right? You're smiling because you're like, damn, this is some good stuff right here. Ron's really. Am I bringing the heat or what?
I'm telling you, I'm smiling because I'm connecting with this.
Okay. So good. I'm glad I'm connecting with you. So we have the unknown equity absentee owner list, right? And then you can also do the airship properties. The number one thing that I've learned in this business, again, is relationship building. There's also a secret list, and that's called the water shutoff list. Only your county has a water shutoff list. You're not going to be able to get it from the first try. You've got to go to your local county, build relationships with those people so they can get you that list. Remember, you don't want to go to foreclosed homes. You want to always get them before they're foreclosed, which the term is pre-foreclosure. At the point they become foreclosed on, they become bank owned, which is REO. You can either do a short sale, etc. Right? We also like to target list with no equity. And those can be some creative finance deals, right? Like subject to. There have been many properties where we've bought, for example, via subject twos, where we take over the mortgage, the buyer would take over the mortgage, and that's more of a cash flow play, right? So there's mainly three types of plays in this business, right? You're gonna flip it, you're gonna rent it, and then you're gonna buy and hold it. Buy and hold and rental are kind of similar, but they call it two different, right? You're banking on the appreciation of the property when you're doing the buy and hold. So that's kind of what it is. Hopefully that answered your question.
Oh, yeah. What Ron just went over is he went over ways to market direct to owners, and he basically gave you guys hyper like if you wanted to find a motivated seller, there are certain types of owners that generally have a higher probability of being a motivated owner that would like to potentially sell at a discount or a little bit of a cash offer just to get out of the property. And he talked about people that maybe own property, for example, down here in California or in Texas, but live out of state. He talked about people that maybe have owned the property for a really long time, that unknown equity, people that the list doesn't even tell you how much equity they've had because they've owned the property for 1940, 1950, 1960s. So these are people that generally aren't going to be like nickel and diming you on $5,000, $10,000. These are people that maybe they bought the property at $10,000. Now they're selling it at $150,000 or $200,000. So they're thinking like they're making a huge profit on the property. So essentially there are ways where you can market to these people, get really good at being the source of the deal. And now if you're good at finding the deal, you can sell it to somebody else, or you have different exit strategies. You have different ways of exiting that contract. But the main thing, the main foundation to being a good wholesaler, the main foundation of being a good listing agent, a good real estate agent, is getting good at finding people that need to sell properties, which is awesome. So what did your business look like when you got started? Because I imagine when you got started, you didn't have the call virtuals in the Philippines. You didn't have the assistants. You didn't have the COO, the videographer, none of that. So how did Rana go from just Rana, wife and children, to the company that it is now? And what does that look like? And how does somebody go from nothing to basically building that out?
So I'm gonna give you the best advice that I can give anyone. And people ask me this question all the time. Your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. I knew that if I was to be successful in this business, I've got to network. For 2 years straight, literally, all I did, my wife and I, we were at every single networking event in Houston. Houston is a big city. There's probably about 3.5 million people in the city, right? And there's a networking event somewhere that's happening, usually every other day. Again, a couple of years ago, right? So for 2 years nonstop, I was networking. So for about a year or so, when I was doing this business, I was in the shadows. I was like someone who's probably watching this right now and saying, man, I'm inspired by Ron. What did Ron do that I can emulate, right? Because success leaves clues, right? People who are successful, they leave clues of how they became successful. And that's what I tell people all the time. There's no secret sauce to this business. You've got to network with people. How did this begin? It was just myself and my wife. That's it. And a dream. That's it. Myself, my wife, and our dream. That we had a dream to get out. I was so desperate, right, Jose? I was so desperate to leave the car business that I was willing to do anything. I quit the car business cold turkey. Like literally, I didn't have a deal. I didn't know anything about this business. I don't encourage people to do that, but that was me, right? I don't encourage people to go out and quit their jobs tomorrow and say, yo, I'm gonna wholesale. Ron did it. He's successful at it, right? I'm gonna go make millions and millions of dollars and I'm gonna, be great at it. No, that's not what I'm saying to do. What I'm telling you guys is that this is my story. I had to do it because the thing is about me, if I felt a certain sense of security, I would have fell back on it, right? I had the golden handcuffs. I had 401k, I had health insurance, I had, a good, again, I thought making $100,000 a year was a lot of money. When you start making that a month, you're like, holy shit, like, no, now you know what's going on, right? So, and I wasn't really understanding that concept of wealth because I was working for someone else, right? But again, remember this, right? You hire people to help you build your dream. Otherwise, somebody's going to hire you to help build theirs. Right at the end of the day. Now, there's nothing wrong with working for someone or helping someone build their quote unquote dream or anything like that, right? There's nothing wrong because you're gaining so much experience at the end of the day. But like I said, that's where I was, right? For a year, I was in the shadows, I was lurking, I was watching, attending here and there. And then I knew it because I knew I had to really go out there and just be out there, right? In other words, just be out there. Right. And then I started going to networking events. I started telling people what I did. Right. I started kind of building my network slowly. And then the biggest thing that catapulted me was I invested in my education heavily. I didn't have any money to start this business. I damn sure didn't have any money to pay someone $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for mentorship. Right. Some of these gurus out there are going wild right now. $60,000 for a mentorship program. Right. So long story short, man, there's two ways you're going to do this business. You're going to either put sweat equity or you're going to invest money into it. I put sweat equity. I called investors and I said, what can I do for you? Right? Instead of saying, I get many people who message me saying, Ron, can you do this for me? Can you meet me for coffee? Or can you do that? Believe me, I probably get 40, 45 messages a day. It took you a while to get in touch with me, and I apologize about that.
I was messaging you for months.
I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry, right? Because we're so backed up on messages and people are, right? Again, it's like, man, what? When I got into the business, I was like, what can I help you with? You need a lockbox put on? I'm going to go put on a lockbox for you, right? You need some calls to be, right? But at the end of the day, I didn't want to become someone's employee. Does that make sense? Right? So I went online, I watched the videos, I hired a mentor. I was fortunate enough to hire a local mentor here in Houston, but I got burnt by that mentor, right? That mentor charged me X amount of dollars. And I remember I only had maybe $1,200 left on that payment to that mentor. As soon as I let that mentor know that I wasn't able to afford to pay for that mentorship, they stopped picking up my phone calls. They stopped communicating with me. And from that day forward, I promised myself that I will not do that to people or my students if one day I got into the education space, which now I am, of course, right? The wholesaling RE101.com. But back then, I didn't know any better. Like, I was like, man, and there's going to be guys out there like that. And that's okay. But I had to go now. I got a chip on my shoulder. Like, I'm a car guy. Like, you don't fucking come out here at me and say, hey, I'm not going to teach you, right? Excuse my French, but like, that's just, again, I took that personally and I'm like, man, I'm going to prove that person wrong. So my first mentor, I got burnt by, but I could have went back to the car business. I could have been like, you know what, screw this, I'm done. People are mean in this industry. They don't want to teach me anything. They don't want to, But again, right? I went out, I hustled, I grinded, fast forward to where we are now, right? The employees, the CEO, the managers, the COO, right? The office, right? Houston, Texas, we're here, we got the office, we got acquisitions, we got dispositions department, right? All the systems, the tools, the process, I was able to build out by joining these masterminds and reinvesting back into myself. The number one mistake wholesalers make is when they do a big deal, guess what they're doing?
They're going to buy a car. I'm kidding.
They're going to buy a car, right? You're right. That's the number one mistake. Or they buy the bling. They get the drip, right? That's the number one. And I didn't buy this on my first deal, guys, so don't worry. I didn't buy my Rolex on my first deal either. But right? The number one mistake people make is that they go out and they buy all this flashy shit to impress people that don't even matter to them in the first place, right? Hey, look at me, man. I made it. I closed my first wholesale deal, right? I run into so many people all the time, and I ask them, hey, Ron, I did a couple of deals already, right? I'm ready to, how do I get to that next level? But I don't have any money to invest in myself. I'm like, how do you not have money? You just closed a $15,000 deal. Oh, nah, man. You know what I mean? I saw the new Jordans out. I got to get those. I'm like, what the hell, bro? Like, are you kidding me right now? I've had people tell me that. They bought brand new Jordans from their first paychecks. I didn't have that luxury. Diapers ain't cheap, okay? I came in, I had 2 kids. When we started this business, I had literally nothing, okay? So I reinvested into my business and into my education. And I started talking to people. Hey, how much money do you think I should reinvest into marketing? 30%. For every $10,000, right? Or even if I make $5,000, 30% of that goes back into my marketing. You got to keep reinvesting back into marketing, because marketing is a beast that is never full. It's never going to be full, no matter what, right? You guys are crushing it on SEO out in California. SEO in Houston alone, just to compete, is over $2 million a year. I don't got $2 million a year. Like, I'm not competing with that shit, right? I'm going to go for the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go to networking events, right? I'm going to go cold call. I'm going to go driving for dollars and stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, long story short, all this was not overnight. I call myself it took me a couple of years. There's a word for it that I like to say it, but I can't remember the word. But it's it takes a lot of years of hustle, right? It's years of overnight success that's brought me here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. And I think one of the things that once you start getting busier, it's probably delegating stuff, so for me, when I got started, I started delegating stuff through this company called Upwork. I started hiring virtual assistants, and I started delegating little tasks that was my first assistant. My first assistant was a $4 assistant, because in my mind, I already had a vision that I wanted to grow, and I already had a certain vision that my time was worth more than a certain dollar amount, and that my time was better spent in other activities. So for those people out there, it's going to be about reinvesting back into the business, reinvesting back into your education, and also reinvesting into delegation, into freeing up some time so that you can focus on higher and higher activities as well too. You can do that through Upwork, obviously, different people. One of the things that worked really well for me was I started, when I would network, I started a little Rolodex that I would write down people's name that I could see myself doing business with in the future. And I have a little short list of somebody, if I know they're pleasant to speak with, if I know they're on top of things, and I know that they're good human beings, I have a little short list. So whenever I need to fill a spot, they're the first people that I call. They're the very first people that I call because of that networking stuff. So let me ask you this, Rana. And I want to be transparent, because in some areas, some wholesalers have bad reputations, meaning that they get people under contract, meaning they make an offer on the property and then they don't close. And I tell you this coming from a real estate perspective, because sometimes I get offers from what I see as a wholesaler. They have a really low earnest money deposit, $100 deposit, or $1,000.
$100? We put $10.
Wow. Okay. It's a really small deposit. And then they always put the or assignee. So let me ask you this. What makes a good wholesaler, And then what makes a bad wholesaler? Because there are some wholesalers out there, man, that like their only intention is to tie up the deal, but they aren't going to close. And then when they tie it up, their intention is to try to renegotiate the price while they're in escrow. And I understand that happens sometimes, but I mean, there's some people that like don't do that every time. So can you explain to us what a good wholesaler would be and what maybe somebody that's not a good wholesaler looks like?
So first of all, being a good wholesaler is number one, knowing your numbers. You gotta know your numbers at the end of the day, okay? Number two is there has to be a certain code of ethics in this industry, okay? I abide by a very strict code of ethics, and this is why my buyers come back time and time again, okay? Know your numbers, have a code of ethics, right? And treat the seller the right way, because guess what? You are playing a very important part in their life right now, because that property could have been one of the biggest investments they've ever made, right? And now you're coming in and you're giving them a lowball offer. And it's funny you actually brought this up, because I was telling one of my mentees today on our call, I was like, never ever do this. And this is what I see time and time again. Wholesalers will get a property under contract, okay, and they'll negotiate on the day of closing at title company. I'm like, no, that's not what you do. So wholesalers are, they're learning from YouTube University, and they're trying to get all this down, right? And they're trying to learn from Google or wherever they're going for their education, right? But at the end of the day, there's guys like us who are doing good business, right? A good wholesaler will know if he can move the deal within 72 hours. Give me 3 days and I'll tell you if I can move this deal or not, right? And then we politely tell the seller, Mr. Seller, unfortunately, the property needs XXX. We're unable to close, right? Boom, you part ways from there. Now, some wholesalers will definitely keep that property under contract. I've seen some contracts, and it's blown me away, right, Jose Luis, that people will get a property under contract and they'll extend it for 60 days. Why are you under contract for 60 days? And in their contract, there's an automatic clause that says, if we can't resolve title issues, there's an automatic extension. That's a huge red flag. Whenever we go out and we see someone else has that in their contract, or if a seller's under contract, hey, Mr. Seller, if you don't mind, can I see that contract? Because we know contracts, right? We're going to read it. And did you know that if you don't close at a certain date, it gets automatically extended and you're still technically under contract? I didn't know that. Well, damn what? Yeah, I know you didn't know that, because if they would have told you that, you would have never went into contract, right? Yeah. Boom. At the end of the day, it's illegal to contract a property if you do not intend to close on it. Remember that. Wholesalers that get into this game thinking they're going to come out and make a quick buck. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Right? There's so many fly-by-night wholesalers. And you ever seen a property online where a wholesaler, the roof is gone, the house is damn near crushed, and they say $20K in rehab?
I've seen it, yeah.
We've all seen it, right? And these are the same people who are going on YouTube University, learning stuff on, right? And nothing, I'm on YouTube. I've got a lot of followers on YouTube. I post a lot of free content, but my content is a lot different because we're teaching it the ethical way, man. We're telling people, the right way of doing wholesale. There's a wrong way of wholesaling, and then there's a right way of wholesaling, right? And you can get caught up in the nuance and the intricacies of this business and the legalities really, really quick. The last thing you want is the seller's attorney calling you, asking you, hey, why are you closing on this deal now? You've done your due diligence, right, et cetera, et cetera. So there are deals. Like whenever we get a property under contract, like here's a HUD, right? Let me show you. I just talk about HUDs. Let me show you my HUDs. Like if you want to show somebody something, show them the HUD, right? Here's something that we put under contract for $10. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's $10. There we go. Got to zoom in a little bit, zoom out, right? And we made a $16,000 signing fee on it in a couple of hours. That's it, right? I know a good deal. I know a deal's a deal. Like I'm going to close on a deal if I know it's a good deal or not, right? I'm not going to sell a bad deal to my buyer, right? Because the last thing you want is not get that business again. Because remember, as a wholesaler, you want to be in the business of repeat business. Mm-hmm. That's what I tell my people. We are in the business of repeat business. I don't want to sell 10 different properties to 10 buyers. I want to sell, 5 properties to one buyer and the other 5 to another buyer.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Does that make sense? So it comes down, it really just comes down to that. And the quality of your work. When people start buying deals from you, they'll start talking, they'll start chirping. There's going to be chirp in the real estate world. Hey man, I bought this deal from Ron. Dude, give me his number. I want to get another deal too. So that's what's really helped me out too. A lot of word of mouth referral. Because I ask buyers, hey, do you have any other investor buddies who are looking for deals like yours? Yeah. Can I get 5 at closing? We literally have a referral sheet. Can you fill this referral sheet out real quick? Then I'll have my dispo manager pop the phones and call them. Nobody's doing that. Now they are probably because I just told them what we do, but that's smart, right? You're asking for referrals. And I learned that from the car business. Hey, do you know anyone else, would like to be in a Dodge Charger for $8.99 a month? Yeah, I got some money. I got somebody, right? You get referrals. So the business works on referrals too, man. It's phenomenal. And that's zero marketing. I literally spent zero market. That's the whole concept of this podcast, right? How to get deals with $0. Ask for referrals, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. One of the things that I didn't mention is we talked about finding the deal, and essentially we just talked now about selling the deal to your cash buyer. So basically, can somebody wholesale a deal to a traditional buyer? And what are the risks associated with that? Or is it only to a cash buyer? And if it's only to a cash buyer, how does somebody build up their cash buyer list? Besides or is that the best way to build it, to basically ask for referrals from people that you've already worked with?
No, social media is a great platform to find buyers, right? You post a deal out there, right? And people will come, right? And posting out bandit signs, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, 1,500 square foot, right? And a 5,000 square foot lot for, 120. ARV is a 210. Right? We call those pseudo properties. It's kind of like when you go to the hotel, they do a pseudo charge on you and they keep the right. They don't really charge you. So we call it, it's not really, well, some people call it a fake property. I mean, you're really at that, you're fishing for buyers, and there's nothing wrong with that. We fish for buyers all the freaking time, and it works. Boom, guys, right? We got a property in this area. Who's buying? Drop your comments below, right? We got a hot deal in Houston, Texas, right? Boom, boom, boom. We got again, right now we don't need to do pseudo properties, but when I first started out, I was doing that. That's exactly what I was doing to build my buyers list, along with networking with people. To your first question, no, you cannot sell to a retail. You can't wholesale a property to a retail buyer unless you actually wholetail it. Wholetailing, you can actually pop it on the MLS. You actually got to close. Excuse me, you got to close on the property. So technically, I'm the owner of the property, right? But it's called lipstick on a pig. I'm selling that property now on the MLS, and I'm wholetailing that house, that property. Sold as is, right? So I'm not wholesaling it, I'm wholetailing it. Make sense?
So basically, the wholesaling is a combination of flipping the property and wholesaling a property. It's
yes.
Basically like a wholesaler and a flipper had a baby, and they came up with wholesaling a property.
Yeah, but you actually you close on that deal, right? Yeah. Now there's argument that you can use transactional funding. That's all legal, but man, that's all mumbo jumbo. It's all, black and white and all that stuff. Listen, if you don't want to get into deep shit, close on if you know the deal's a deal, close on it. And you don't need to use, now that's going to your other question. How do I know if I don't have all this money in my DM, right? Other people's money. So if you find the deal, there will be lenders, and there will actually be people who will lend on the property, right? They won't lend on you, because remember, right? If you use a private lender, they're lending on the property itself, and people, and they'll charge you whatever they charge you. But the money is out there. People want to invest in properties. You just got to go out and find the deal.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. Are all escrow companies okay with working with wholesalers, or are there specific companies that work better with wholesalers? And does the seller know that at some point that you're not being the end buyer on the wholesale, or basically, how does that process work? Essentially, like on the HUD one, does the seller know that you're making an assignment fee, or what does that look like?
No, at that point, you are using a blind HUD. Okay, so the seller gets a blind HUD, and the buyer, unless you are double closing the property, okay, unless you're actually double closing the property to hide your assignment fee. I barely double close. I think I've only done maybe 1 or 2 out of the shit ton of deals that we've done. I've never I don't double close because I build a relationship with my buyer. If Mr. Buyer, if I'm not counting your money, you shouldn't count my money at the end of the day, right? Let me tell you a story. What happened one time, I had a first-time couple who bought a property from us. They were gonna make amazing cash flow. I mean, the deal made sense. They were happy about it. I got one phone call from that couple when they were closing at title company. Okay, guess what they said? Ron, you're making too much money. I said, what? Oh, okay, I'm making too much money? Okay, hold on. Okay, Mr. Buyer, here's what I do, right? Not counting my overhead, not counting my employees, right? My marketing money, overhead cost, labor, that's not all free. That costs money at the end of the day. I'm the one spending $20,000 to $25,000 a month in marketing. Did you spend that money to get this deal? No. Okay then, right? And it's crazy because the guy was a heart surgeon. So I knew he had money, right? But he was still complaining about how much, right? And I told him, I said, listen, imagine you walk into surgery. You're getting ready to cut up the guy. And the guy goes, hold on. You're charging me too much money. Can you come down on your fees? Right. This is what happened. I told him that. And he goes, yeah, you know what? You're right, man. Like, I get it, man. But my wife, he's trying to put the higher authority, right? At the end of the day, well, I think we're going to become wholesalers too. I say, by all means, you know what? I don't have an education course out right now. This was about 2 years ago. I wish I would have had it out back then because I would have showed him how to wholesale the right way. But he didn't. Again, to be honest, they didn't understand how much work went into marketing, overhead costs. If I'm making 20 grand on a deal, Rana's taking home probably $2,500 of that after paying payroll, after paying employees, expense, everything, right? At the end of the day. So that's where we come at. And a lot of people see like, oh man, you're making X amount of money, X amount of dollars and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, yeah, but we're still, again, right? We're still running an operation. It's called an operation for a reason. This is not like, working from the garage or anything like that, but especially due to COVID, right? Everything has changed. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. I'm really hoping you ask me that question. But yeah, man, COVID has definitely been a blessing to a lot of us, and a lot of my guys, they're a lot more productive working from home than they've ever been in the office. So it's been pretty dope. I've saved a lot of money doing that. I'm telling you.
So tell us about that. Like, what effect has COVID had in your business? Like, it sounds like it's been a positive one because it has.
It has. We've definitely seen a lot more zeros. So we're happy about that. But at the end of the day, I've been able to cut my cost, my overhead cost, right? And then, just the nuances, right? The gas bill or the water bill or the electricity bill. All these things start adding up. Like, I'm a storefront. I spend over $5,000 a month just in my location itself, right? So it's not cheap at all. But, due to COVID, the landlord has been able to work it out with us where we didn't, again, right? We move everyone to work from home and they're on the phones, right? We're running a whole operation. Everyone's working from home. And we've seen productivity go up because now they're not spending money in gas. They're not pissed off at traffic. They're not spending money on lunches. I'm not spending money on Saturday lunches, so I'm happy, right? So it is what it is at the end of the day. And it gives me more money, more marketing money to put back into the company, and then I can spiff them a lot more better, right? So I can give them a lot more bonuses too. So again, right, just because I've freed up all this money doesn't mean I'm going to go to the Bahamas with my family. I'm reinvesting that money back into the business.
So let me ask you this. We talked about acquisitions, having acquisition agents and disposition agents. That's something that until I met you, I had no idea what that was. So like, can you tell us what that is and why people have that separately? Like why they have like an acquisitions manager and a disposition manager, and what are the roles of the two different individuals?
Yes. So the rule. So basically, right now, right, with acquisitions, they're only right. Acquisitions is only in charge of acquiring the property. That's it. Acquiring the deal. Right at the end of the day, dispositions is sales. They're the sales. They're selling the property to your end buyer. So you've got one person who's talking to sellers, one person talking to buyers. Right? Does that make sense? Right? Not the same person is not talking to buyers and sellers. Why? Because we have a fine line between company rules, regulations. It doesn't work out. A lot of guys have tried that, and then they'll go out and build their own companies because now they know the seller, the buyer, right? But I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. So, but yeah, the hiring process looks like this. Acquisition comes in, they're training on their scripts, right? They're talking to sellers all day, every day, doing what they're doing. Dispositions is the sales department, and they're talking to buyers, building rapport with buyers, seeing what areas they buy in, everything like that. It's so funny. I tell my team, I tell my dispo manager, I say, man, make sure you ask them what areas they buy in. And the sellers get excited. And then guess what we do? We send them everything. I'm like, send them everything. It's okay. Because I don't know if he's buying in, a certain area today, and then he talks to his cousin who wants to buy in another area now. So I'm like, no, send him everything, man. And we've had cases like that where disposition was like, no, he's only buying in this area. Sure enough, he's like, no, I'm open to other areas, because he knows sometimes that area is so saturated, right?
Yeah.
With other buyers. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool how we, and each department is a separate training and development. Acquisition has their own script. They've got their own payroll. They've got their own everything. Disposition has their own sales script, their own payroll, everything itself. So yeah.
Let me ask you, Sean Altaf from Facebook is asking us, how many people are in your team, and what would be the first hire when scaling and delegating? Thank you, Sean.
So your first hire in your business, in my recommendation, if you don't have anybody else and it's only you, hire an acquisition agent. Now, once you hire that acquisition agent, I'm a big believer in promoting within. You take that acquisition agent and now you give them the role of a COO, right? Because I've learned this. I've done A and B testing. I've hired someone to come in as a COO and they sucked. Yeah. They didn't know what was going on, right? Now you got to train them on acquisitions. And I'm like, man, damn, I'm doing two jobs at one. But if I have a guy who already knows acquisitions, who started in acquisitions, I can build him up to a COO role. Does that make sense?
And for those people that don't know what a COO role, what is that?
It's a chief operating officer.
And what's their role?
Their role is to manage the team. Okay, the COO only reports to you as the CEO, the chief executive officer, right? I call myself the janitor of the company. I don't believe in titles, but because I'm the one cleaning the floors. But you'll see photos of me vacuuming in my office. Like, what are you doing, Ron? I'm vacuuming. I'm cleaning your shit up.
You've got the Humvee car, so definitely you've got the general car,
Oh, there you go. I see. Okay, I see you following me. I like it. Yes, I love my H1, man. That is something that really solidified my dream, man, in this business, because I didn't want to go out and buy the Lambos like every other person out, every other guru out there, right? I wanted to buy something that I really wanted, and believe me, it gets a lot more head turns than a Lamborghini. It's a 1987 H1 Humvee, and I bought it from a collector with 4,000 miles on it. In fact, there's a video on YouTube when I went to go buy it. I bought it from a collector, so it's pretty dope. Now, how many people on my team? I started out this company. When I was scaling. I started out with a big ass team. Like, hey man, I've got 8 acquisition people. 8 acquisition people, 2 disposition people, right? And everybody, boom, boom, boom. As I learned this business, right, getting up there, you don't need that many people. Now we're short to only 4 acquisition people, 1 disposition guy, and we're making a lot more money than we were with a whole shebang, right? Because we have to remember, who's going to pay those payroll costs? You are. Right? If they don't sell nothing, you're paying for it unless they're on a draw or they're on a commission only structure. right? So, but keep your team small and keep your team slim and lean. One thing that COVID-19 has taught all of us is that Ehsan, one thing that that's taught a lot of us is that you got to keep it lean, especially in this business. This is why companies like Amazon are paying $100 million in fines to break their leases, because that's not where it's at now. This is all about pivoting and adapting. A true successful entrepreneur knows how to pivot and adapt, right? When COVID hit back in March, I would say April, May, June, I was only down to 2 acquisitions. I didn't need acquisition people. I'm just like, man, okay, cool. I'm good with 2 people. As COVID started, going away, evolving, whatever it is, you can wrap back up, right? And then you add another disposition person and stuff like that. Unless you're getting to a 6-figure a month revenue, do not hire more than 2 to 3 people in your company. You just don't need it. I know many guys who have 2 acquisition people, right, and 1 sales guy, and they're killing it. I know people who have 1 acquisition, 1 sales guy, who are killing it. It all comes down to your leadership role. If I got to get on the phone and become acquisitions, I do it. If I got to go out to an appointment with an acquisition guy, I do it because it's my company, right? I don't wear titles here. Like, I don't give a shit. I'll go out and negotiate a deal if I have to, because I know it's going to help my sales guy, the bottom line, and it's going to help us. So I hope that really made sense. You keep it lean. All these guys out there who got the operations and then blah, 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 and all that, like I'm talking about like the 12 or more acquisition members, and that's all nice and fancy. That's great HGTV content, right? But how much money are you really making?
Yeah.
There's a difference. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep.
Yeah.
How much money are I actually keeping?
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Like, they don't talk about like the profitability of the business, like, because essentially if you make $1.5 million or $2 million, but you spend $2 million because you've got 10 acquisition managers and 10 disposition managers, that's a pretty good ratio. Would you say that a 4-to-1 is a pretty good ratio in terms, or a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of acquisitions versus dispositions? Or what, is there like a certain rule of thumb on that, or is
There's no rule of thumb on it, to be honest, because everyone's business is different, right? Your business is going to be a lot different than mine. You run, a brokerage, you're a realtor, you do what you do. I run a wholesale company, right? I fine-tune due to A and B testing and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm giving you guys, you're learning from my mistakes. Let's keep it like that. So if you don't get anything out of this podcast, right, with Jose, Luiz, and I, you're going to learn from Ron's mistakes. Do you guys have $100,000 to go out and do A and B testing? Do you have over 6 figures to spend in what do they call it? Market analysis and seeing what works, what doesn't? I don't know if a lot of you guys do or not. I definitely don't. And when I did have it, I couldn't afford it, because I tell everybody till this day, like, I can't afford it at the end of the day, right? You can't afford good people in your company. Yeah. Only hire people you cannot afford. Believe me, Trust me on that. Only hire people you cannot afford, because their talents will take your company so much farther. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When I sit in a room with my guys, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm the dumbest cat. You see me online and I'm talking right now and blah, blah, blah. Dude, I'm telling you, okay, yes, I'm a leader in this industry. I get it. People follow me. I understand. But when I'm sitting in a room, and if I'm the smartest guy in that room, I'm in the wrong room. Right? And I tell my guys all the time, only reason I hired you because you're smarter than me. Oh, Ron, you're being too modest, man. You're being too. No, I'm like, for real. Like, show me how to do what I need to do. That's why you're hired, dumbass. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't call my employees dumbass.
Do most wholesalers pay acquisitions and dispositions on strictly a commission? Or are they typically on a salary, or how does that typically work?
So is that one of your questions that came in?
No. So one of the questions that came in, somebody said, "Dope shirt."
Oh, thank you. This is a part of our merch line. We're getting ready to introduce my very own merchandise line. So we got the signature on the back right there with the wholesaling. So I'll tag you in a link whenever our merchandise is ready. So, awesome. But I appreciate that. So here's how we pay acquisitions, okay? Now, you can do what we figured out is having them on a 3-month draw, a 90-day draw, works best. Okay. Now, what is a draw? Okay. A draw is when I actually will give you, right, a salary of say $2,500 a month. Okay. But I'm guaranteeing you, right? I'm guaranteeing you that $2,500. But if you make $3,000, I only owe you $500 of that amount. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So
that's a draw. I take that money back, in other words. That's deducted. Now, if you're making $6,000 and I've already paid you $3,000 at your washout check, I only pay you $3,000. So a good place to put acquisition people is going to be at a 25, how we do it. I don't know how everyone else does it, and they can do whatever they want to do. It's their business. I put normally a $2,500 draw for 90 days, and then you're on commission, straight commission, right? And then you're also on a percentage between 3 to 6% of the net assignment fee. Net assignment fee, not gross assignment fee. Whatever we make after paying every basic, not overhead, but if we got to give back the seller $2,000, then that's net after all those expenses.
Yeah. So what the net after the expenses, basically. So if you guys had to send out somebody to maybe like do like a home inspection, that would come from the net assignment fee, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes we have to pay for an inspection that the buyer's too stingy on. He's like, man, I'm not paying for an inspection. Oh, how much is the inspection? $250. Okay, just do it. If I'm making $10,000 on the deal, what's $250? It's all right, just do it. Then I'm gonna go back and renegotiate the contract with the seller for another $5,000.
They're doing business, like essentially there are certain business expenses. It's interesting.
Oh, I've literally given up thousands of dollars to make a deal happen. Again, I'm a numbers guy. At the end of the day, if I got to pay back the seller $1,000 or $2,000 at closing, I'm going to do that. If I got to pay for a dumpster to come out and clear that property, right, I'm going to do that out of my pocket, even though it's the buyer's responsibility. Sometimes sellers leave crap behind, and we got it again, right? You remember, the buyer walks in like, I'm not paying for this. Like, shit, man. Like, okay, we'll take care of it for you.
I think the key is reputation, like
do
like both reputation with sellers and also reputation with end consumers, which is the buyers, because the reality is if you keep a good reputation with the sellers, obviously these sellers are going to come back. Like I bought my 25 unit apartment that I own from a past client that did 4 or 5 deals with me. And basically it was great. It was a repeat client. So had I not done a good job, or had I not kept my word, or had I not done that, I would have never got that big at bat to that 25 unit apartment. And boy, was it was a great opportunity for me. And it's the same thing with buyers. If you keep your word, they're going to keep coming back. They're going to refer you. They're going to recommend you and keep coming back. So somebody asked, Ron, if you have any experience doing commercial wholesaling. I know that we talked a little bit about like multi-unit wholesaling. Do you have any experience with like commercial buildings? And basically,
so I've done a small commercial deal. I don't have a vast HUDs of commercial deals left and right. No, we do strictly single family, multifamily. I hope he probably meant multifamily. Maybe he's getting. Sometimes people get the two mixed up. They think multifamily is commercial. So let's make sure if they got that right. But when he says commercial, he's talking about like actual stores, like retail stores. That's what commercial is in our book. So, but we've done single family, multifamily, storage units, mobile homes, land, lots. So, but yeah, I have very little experience, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'll be the first person to tell you I haven't done it all. I don't need to. You don't need to do it all. In this business, you don't need to be the ace of spades. One day I want to be able to have, how to have Trump towers. Maybe we'll have Rana towers. I'll be like, yo, I wholesale myself that building, right? So I'm not there yet. I'm not at that level yet, and I can humble myself to say that I'm not there yet.
Let me ask you a question, Ron. Do you ever keep any of the stuff, or do you wholesale everything? Like, do you ever keep any properties in your portfolio, like any of the?
Yeah, I'm not in the flip game. I'm in the rental game. So we like to do rentals and wholesales. That's it. I don't have the passion to wait 6 months for a property to sell. I'm more of a quick cash type of dude, right? And then rental, once it's a cash flow play, we like to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then, do you only wholesale in Houston, or do you wholesale in all of Texas? And do you ever go out to other states as well too to like wholesale properties?
No, I'm in multiple markets right now. Yeah. Where I don't want to really mention what markets I'm in, but you know, a little bit of Florida, you know, Florida. Okay, Texas, Florida. We're getting into right before COVID happened. We were getting into actually the Phoenix market, Arizona, and then Nevada I heard Nevada is a pretty good market.
Awesome.
Vegas.
Well, we're all waiting on Nevada right now, you know.
Nevada, we'll see. We'll see. I know. Tell me about it. It's been crazy.
I saw a funny meme. It was like this little kid running to home plate, just like very slow motion. It was like everyone's waiting on Nevada.
I saw one with a sloth, the life of pets, but the sloth is at the DMV. They're like, that's Nevada right now.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. At the end of the day, and I want to make a comment on that about the presidency and stuff like that. Okay, no matter who wins, we are still going to make money at the end of the day. Okay, no matter if it's a blue state, a red state, if we get Trump, if we get Biden. Listen, the true legacy of an entrepreneur is he makes money in any market, right? Who made the most money in the gold rush? Let me ask you, Jose Luis, who made the most money in the gold rush?
It was the people that were selling the material to go freaking to go do the pans and all that, basically.
Close, yes. It was the people who sold the shovels. Yeah, the shovels. Yeah, they made the most money, right? No matter what happens in this election, there's still going to be foreclosures. There's still going to be deals. There has not been a better time than now to do this business. I'm telling you guys, because we've seen a huge rise in free foreclosures. We're going to have one of the biggest, I'm telling you, quote me on this, no bullshit. We're going to have one of the biggest foreclosures in the history of this country. Wait until February and March. I'm telling you, wait, it's going to happen. People can argue it all day. It's going to happen. We're going to see a magnitude. It's not going to be, I'm not talking about 2008 or 2009. No. I'm talking about the pre-foreclosure market. Like, I'm talking about that market. I'm not talking about the economy crashing or anything like that. No. We're going to see a big wave of homes that all those people who thought going into, what's the word I'm looking for, bro? I'm so sorry. I think so fast, my brain is like running 100 miles per hour. Going into forbearance, right? And now that wall's going to hit them come February, March, and boom. And this is the best time right now to actually start marketing for deals, because the end of the year taxes are coming right up. Yeah, remember that.
So cool, man. Let's end this with just 3 book recommendations, man. 3 books that you would recommend, and then we can basically give everybody your contact information, unless you think we missed something.
You're the interviewer. You tell me what I think this was one of the most advanced podcasts that I've been on. No one actually has asked about systems and tools in the process. So that was pretty dope, man. I like that. So that was awesome.
I'll tell you this, my personality is very systems and operations oriented.
Yeah.
And you watch some of the previous interviews, I think that's the one thing that I like to do. I like to like I did one called What is Escrow? And we basically go like from start to finish, what does the escrow process look like? So whenever we talk about wholesaling, like I wanted to give somebody like an overall view of what is wholesaling. And then whenever we do future ones like flipping property or whatever, I just want somebody to have like a very in-depth. I mean, we can talk about Rana all day long and all that, but I wanted to get like more.
You can go to YouTube and find out who I am. You can follow me on social media, right, to do all of that. So I'll give you my 3 books that I do like. And I do want to, again, I've been known to always give back to the real estate community. So one of my most favorite books that I always recommend is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Perfect. The OG of OGs, no matter what, right? Dale Carnegie, I love that book. If your viewers would like a free copy, I'll have my team email them a free copy as a token of being on the podcast and sticking with us.
Wow. That's awesome, bro. Second book.
I'll send them a PDF copy, by the way, so they can read it on their phone.
Okay, cool, man.
Okay. The second book, I already went through How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've got my books back here. Well, you can probably see my chair here, but I do like this one right here. High Performance Habits.
Haven't read that one.
Brendon Burchard. Great book, man. You got to read it. I think I read one page. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great book. And then I do like this book. This is one of the first books that I actually got when I first started this business. This is one of my top ones. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways by Susan Jeffers.
That's awesome, man. I haven't read those last two, so I'm gonna have to
feel the fear and do it anyways. Dude, I've got coffee stains on this book. Like, it's dirty as fuck, but I love books, man. Remember, readers are leaders, guys. If you want to go out and impact the world, you want to go out and impact the world, you gotta read, man. If you don't read and you got ADHD like me, get an Audible, right? Right? I can't read a book this thick, bro. Like, I'm like sitting there going, what am I doing, right? So my latest book that I'm reading is Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Fertitta, owner of the Houston Rockets. I actually posted that book up a couple days ago. I picked it up and I'm sitting there. I'm fortunate enough to have Tillman lives in Houston, so I go to his hotel, Post Oak Hotel. He spent over $200 million. I'm so like it's a beautiful hotel, man. Beautiful hotel, but mad respect for the guy. He paid over $1 billion for the Rockets cash. The guy knows what he's doing. So I want to learn from billionaires. I want to learn from people who have more money and more zeros in their bank account than I do. I want to emulate that, right? And success leaves clues, and those are the people. So this is only the beginning, man. A lot of people see like, hey, Ron's got the podcast. He's got the networking event. We're launching, so much other stuff now. And it's only going to get better, man. I don't know if we spoke about the education side of it. If you want to go over that too, that's fine.
So I wanted to put a plug in there for you. So like for those people that are curious about learning how to wholesale, learning from somebody that is not just basically telling you how to do something, but somebody that's actually done it.
Somebody who's got HUDs.
I would.
Let's go.
Where can somebody pick up the course, and what will that course cover, basically?
So if you go to wholesalingre101.com, that's WHOLESING, wholesalingre. Well, I told you ADHD. wholesalingre101.com. Okay, you go to that site, you'll be able to buy the course. I put the course out at $349. Okay, it's a phenomenal course. It gives you a breakdown from acquisitions, dispositions. It's over 80 videos that go in depth. I have people closing literally $12,000 plus deals just from buying a $300 course. It's the same information that people charge $5,000 for a weekend seminar. That's what that is. So it's A to Z, how to scale your business from the beginning all the way. It tells you everything. The entire breakdown of what wholesaling is, how you can build a wholesale company. You also get copies of my contracts. I give all that away for free. I give you my JV agreement for free. I have a library in there that in one video, it tells you over 64 ways to get a deal with zero money out of pocket.
I love that. Yeah.
You gotta find a deal somewhere in there. I have a guy. So if you go to wholesalingre101.com, you'll be able to purchase the course. We put it at $349. As we start adding content to it, you're gonna still be at that price. We never upsell you shit. So I'm against the upsell guru policy, right? So if I add 80 more videos to that, you're still gonna be able to access those 80 plus videos for the same price that you got in. There's some people who literally spent $50 on my course. And as the course grew, now they're getting everything that's for $349 that they got for $50. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not about upselling people. That's not what I'm here to do. I've done this business. I have a beautiful track record of doing it. I'm out in Houston. Reach out to me on YouTube, social media, Rana1. If you want to go out and buy the course, again, it's $349. Message me privately. I might have a code for you guys to bring it down just for Jose Luis. So we'll create you got a comment there. I just saw a comment.
I'm one of his students. Amazing. That's Gary. Gary, Kind.
Yeah, Gary's one of my one-on-one students. He works with me one-on-one. He's one of my high-level mentees. So he's learning how to scale this business from A to Z, running an operation, not even building it, running an operation. So, but yeah, man, at the end of the day, this is about learning from the right people. You don't have to learn from me. I tell people all the time, if you don't want to learn from me, if you don't like my skin color, if you do not like how I talk, it's okay. It doesn't matter, right? But if you want the HGTV, there's too many white guys on HGTV already, bro. It's too many, right? We need diversity. We need color. But at the end of the day, it's just about learning from people who are doing the business in today's market, who are literally on the phone talking to sellers, right? Running a company. There's so much shit going on right now in my life. Like it's ridiculous, right? And now we're looking to build out a custom CRM. So it's a whole bunch of stuff we're coming out with, right? So, and we're excited about that. We're getting ready to, beta test it with some of our students. And then we're going to launch nationwide seminars. So we're going to start teaching people how to wholesale properly the right way. Because one thing I learned, and the reason why I got into this business was to, learn from the right people. Now I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, hey, I don't need to charge people 40 grand to teach them, right? I can put out a course for $349 and they're gonna close deals off of that $349. The only thing is I'm not against education. I'm just against the wrong education. Does that make sense? When you go to a seminar, they tell you to pull out HELOCs. They're telling you to, take out, maxing out your credit cards. They're telling you to pay 60 grand for mentorship. And then you get the phone number for a manager, right? A manager or a concierge, or they call it a big fancy words. You're part of the elite circle. This is our circle now, right? No, this is your bank account circle. Then you just doubled that's the only thing you've done for people, right? At the end of the day, hey, listen, I'm not against education, right? I'm against the wrong education. I believe in having an education, right? A lot of people say, Ron, why don't I JV with you guys? And then we do a deal together. And then, you can take my fees out of there. I'm going to tell you why that's a wrong methodology to use, okay? When you go to school to become a heart surgeon, you go to school to become a doctor or an engineer, you don't go to the professor and say, hey, man, after I graduate in 6 years from now, whenever I start practicing and I get my first paycheck, can I give you half of that?
Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, right? Investing in your education is one of the best things that you can do. I have invested well over 6 figures into my education, and I've learned with 6 figures. Does that make sense? I've lost 6 figures. I'm not calling when I look at my losses, Jose Luis, I don't look at them as losses. I look at them as learning experiences. So my students that come in on my one-on-one mentorship, they're cutting 90% of the learning curve, and boom, 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 boom. Gary, actually, it's funny, he commented. Gary joined our program last Monday. On Thursday, he's already working contract. He's got two deals going under escrow.
Well, I'll tell you this. I believe in mentorship, Ron. I went my first 6 months,
100%.
0 deals, first 6 months in real estate. After I got a mentor from 6 to 12, I closed 9. And obviously now we're closing over like 100. I think we're like at 120 closed for the year. So essentially, like from the time I got a mentor, I was hitting my head back and forth, thinking I knew everything, had an ego, thought I was the best thing since cake and ice cream. And then first 6 months, nothing. Then next 6 months, and obviously we started actually making some money. So I know not only that, but like for $350, I mean, the risk is so minimal. I mean, I've gone out to dinner for more than $350, So essentially, if you guys are interested, then obviously that's the clue. He's shared the social media. Ron, I wanted to just say thank you, man, for obviously coming out here, man. I know that your time is valuable. I appreciate it. I look forward to staying in contact with you. I look forward to masterminding with you and then growing together, man. So I really appreciate you doing this. If anybody has any questions, reach out to him. We'll post his information at the bottom of the video. And then, yeah, man, thank you so much for doing this, Ron.
Jose Luis, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I hope I was able to be a beacon for a lot of people. Thank you guys for joining, myself and hearing my story, man. I certainly appreciate it, guys. And once again, brother, it was an honor, a privilege to be on your show. Let's connect after the podcast. Let's get together anytime. I fly out to California, because I'm literally in the middle of purchasing my own private plane. So I'll be flying out from Houston to California, and I hope to meet you, man.
Awesome, brother. I would love that. Would love that, man.
Thank you, brother. Take care.